Hello, everyone. Welcome to Voice of Victory. I'm Adrian Starks, your host, and so grateful for this another opportunity for us to come to you, our community, not just our listening audience, but individuals who we live with, we play with, we worship with on a regular, consistent basis. And I am so excited for today's Voice of Victory episode because I have the privilege of bringing two individuals to you that are seeking elected office. These persons have been in our community doing great things for an extended period of time, but there still is a chance that you may not have had the opportunity to get to know them, and it's my great privilege to bring them before you. And I hope that this will be the beginning of a lasting or even burgeoning experience of encounter for you and them as they serve our community. And so I want you to help me welcome our very first guest. It's in the person of Attorney Brenton Boyce. So thankful to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Bishop Starks. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And this is an exciting time for you because you have come to that decision point, a crossroad in your professional career where you felt like being an attorney had more to it than you had currently been operating. What brought you to this point of seeking elected office?
Well, as a defense attorney and just moving throughout the courthouse and in my practice, I got tired of complaining about things, right? And I don't like being a complainer. Okay. Complaining gets on my nerves. When other people complain, it bugs me, right? So I didn't want to be one of those people. So I said, well, this is my opportunity to get off the bench,
all right,
get in the game, and if I want to change things, get in the game, right?
Well, I often tell my team, I said, don't just bring problems, bring the problem with a solution.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you had a similar kind of contemplation.
I did. Just looking at the issues, some of the numbers, the case backlogs and stuff in the courthouse, I felt like, nothing's simple, right? Because it's an adversarial system, right? So no matter what happens in court, somebody's gonna be mad, right? If it's civil law, you got a plaintiff and a defendant. If it's criminal law, you got a defendant, and you have the state or the prosecutor, right? So somebody walks out of court, even if you split the baby, as they say, the babies weren't meant to be split, right? Somebody's not happy, right? So I knew that it was going to be, these solutions are complex, right? But I don't think it's as hard as everyone makes it seem. And I said this before, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I think we're all educated and smart enough in that courthouse to be able to put our heads together and think outside the box.
Yes.
It's simple math, right? We know who's in the courthouse and we know what's going on, and we know some cases need to be prioritized over others.
Right.
And I think if we go into it that way and we go into it working together, even though sometimes we are on opposite sides and we're adversarial, I think if we walk into it wanting efficiency together, I think we can solve these problems.
Now, a lot of our viewers are not going to be familiar with Brenton Boyce. So give us a sneak peek. Let's peek behind the veil and think about, help us to see your formative years. Where did you grow up?
Born and raised in Gastonia, North Carolina. Went to Ashbrook High School, the greatest high school in Gastonia. Okay. The house that James Worthy built, as we say.
Okay.
So attended that high school. I grew up, and I believe in community because I grew up in the Gaston Boys Club. And that was actually the same boys club that James Worthy grew up in. So there are a lot of success stories that came out of that boys club, right? And we had the men in the community invested in us, yes, right? So I felt like I always wanted to be a lawyer, right? Probably around 7th, 8th grade. First, it was Jesse Jackson, watching Jesse Jackson as a youngster when he ran for president,
Right.
and watching that and just seeing the outspoken brother on TV,
Yes.
right? That and the way he dressed in the suits and stuff, I was like, wow, Jesse's cool. But then what really, and he's not a lawyer, right? But it was just seeing him be a part of politics, right?
Yes.
And to be a voice for us. And then what really made me say, lawyer, being a lawyer is what I want to do, was the O.J. Simpson trial, right? When Johnny Cochran gets up there and he talks and he says, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that.
Wow.
So that was my moment, and that was about 7th or 8th grade, and I think everything I did after that was to be a lawyer.
So what brought you to Guilford County?
What brought me here? North Carolina A&T State University, Aggie Pride.
Aggie Pride.
Yeah, so and I know we had that in common, both football players. I walked on. I think you had a scholarship.
Absolutely.
I walked on. Coach A, it was hard. It was, but I loved it. But yeah, so parents dropped me off at a scholarship in the econ department.
Yeah.
Graduated in 2003. My parents dropped me off in '99. Got my degree, earned my degree in 2003 in economics.
Okay.
So, I actually got a scholarship. I was talked into switching my major because I wanted to be in political science, but, you got to go where the money is. If they offer you a scholarship,
Yes.
my mom said, yes, that's where you're going to be an econ major. So
Okay.
that's what I did, majored in economics, earned my degree. From there, I knew I wanted to go to law school. I sat out a year, clerked or worked for a small law firm for a year, kind of that what do you call it, that kind of hedge or rest year, and then jumped into law school, went to North Carolina Central School of Law. Mm-hmm. So I essentially have lived in Greensboro with the exception of 3 years of law school and 1 year in private practice in Mecklenburg County since '99. So I think I left from 2004, and I would still be here all the time because Durham's just a hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah.
But I left in 2004 and came back to live here permanently in 2007. Been here ever since. For 1 year to practice law at a firm in Mecklenburg County. And when I decided to open my own firm, I was like, where should I do it?
Yes.
I built my entire professional network here. The attorney I worked under, Charles Blackman, at the time, kind of taught me the practice of law, right? Taught me the everyday practice of law. I felt like the courthouse environment of Guilford County at that time was very family oriented, right? You could, no matter what attorney you walk up to, if you have a question, they'll help you out, walk you through the process as a young attorney. So I was like, well, if I want to start my own firm, I need to go where even if I do fall or stumble, at least it's going to be a padded fall, right? So I was like, I think I want to go to Guilford County. I think that because that's where I have my network. There are people there that would step out and help me, give me advice. So I took a leap of faith with not very much money, not many resources, never took out a loan. And I moved back and opened up the law offices of Brenton J. Boyce in 2013. Matter of fact, to be exact, September of 2013.
That's tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely tremendous. Mm-hmm. So you don't mind being a trailblazer?
I do not mind. I took a risk, and I don't mind. And I manage that thing every day. And it's power bills due, and got to pay the internet bill. Got to make payroll every 2 weeks. So
Right.
I've been managing for a long time, 9 years.
That's great. So
Mm-hmm.
can you talk to us about your basic political philosophy?
Political philosophy. First and foremost, I believe that we should take care of the less fortunate, right? No matter why people are in the position they're in, they're there. And I believe as citizens, we kind of have that duty to help people, right? If we have it to give, right? And that's one, even in my law practice. So part of my law, before I jumped out, when I was working in Guilford, before I moved to Mecklenburg County, I actually worked as a public defender. So for about 5 years in my legal career, I was representing the underrepresented, right? So it made me see, and the thing about working in the public defender's office, we have these questionnaires and things we do with clients. So we kind of keep track of things, right? And I was seeing that there were some common denominator type of situations that led people into the criminal justice system. Of course, we have socioeconomics, right? How much money they make and, what they can afford. And then also education.
Yes.
And that was always a common denominator, especially with, even no matter how old they were, we look at their highest level of education. And for the most part, a large percent of these people didn't finish high school.
Okay.
Right. So I saw that, and you see things, you're like, well, these are fixes. Like, what can we do in the system? So I kind of have a soft heart for that kind of stuff. And I just believe as a prosecutor, we have to prosecute while also keeping in mind that people have issues that might lead them to court, right? I teach at A&T as well. I've been teaching at A&T since 2012. So this will be year 10 this year. So criminal justice, now I'm in liberal studies. So you study these things, you do research, and I realized that a lot of the things we do in the courthouse, over prosecuting, essentially throwing people away, putting them in jail, it does not deter crime. Like it's not even a guesstimate. It does not deter crime. Literally, because people don't commit crimes or not commit crimes based upon the fact that they may get in trouble, right? It's not really a deterrence. Right. A deterrence is knowing that they have what they need to live. Wow. Right? So now I know, as a district attorney, I wouldn't be able to put a cape on and feed everybody and fix a lot of those societal ills, but I can at least determine how we prosecute people that come into court and look at them and their situation and know that the crime they may have committed or are accused of committing isn't them. It's the situation.
So then I need you to help the people appreciate your candidacy by answering this next question. What would be your top 2 priorities if you were to gain this seat?
Top 2 priorities, for one, efficiency. I want to make the courthouse more efficient, right? So we have so many stakeholders and heads of offices in the courthouse, and I feel like we need to work with each other, right? So the court system can be made more efficient. And some of the stuff is super small, right? The way the courtroom looks, what we do in the courtroom that can make it seem congested in a certain area. And I know people may not understand this sitting in the gallery watching, but a lot of stuff that goes on right there, and we call it the bar in the well of the courtroom, where you have these attorneys. It almost looks like the New York Stock Exchange, everyone mixing and bumping in, and we always in each other's personal space, reaching over each other. But I think a simple solve would be to keep some of that outside the courtroom. So in my private practice, I've had the opportunity, and I've actually, in my experience, I've actually gone and disposed of cases in over 20 counties in the Piedmont. So probably as far west as Gaston, where I'm from, and Cleveland County, Shelby, all the way as far east as Raleigh. So anything up that 85 corridor and all those little small, I've been on a lot of little country roads going to court. Okay. I get to see how court works in other places, right? Yeah. And I see some people are smooth, some are, some systems are smooth, some aren't, right? But I got to look at all of it, right? So I think if we can take a little bit of that outside of the courtroom, and we won't have judges waiting, right? And you don't want mad judges, right? So when they get impatient when they're sitting there all morning and nothing's ready. So I think that is one simple solve to make in district court more efficient, right? Okay. Then for the backlog, is particularly the serious felonies and the murders, right? So we have a not even, I won't call it a little bit of a backlog. It's a big backlog right now. Some of these murder cases, 4+ years old. And at this point, I know we had the pandemic, but I think when we came out of the pandemic, we should have prioritized these things, right? There's certain low-level felonies and what I call victimless crimes that are clogging the system that I think if we have more amicable prosecuting, a lot of that stuff can move its way out of the system and leave room for this serious backlog, right? So that's one of my plans, is to be more of an amicable prosecutor, working with defense attorneys. Even though of course we're adversarial, we can still work as a means of efficiency and get these things done and focus on these murders. We have more than enough courtrooms at this point, 2 in in Greensboro, and at least 1 Superior courtroom in High Point. So that gives us in a month 12 chances to catch up on a backlog, and we have to take advantage of that.
Brent, I need you to look in that camera, talk to the people, and tell them why they need to vote for you.
In which camera? This one?
Look in that one.
That one right there. Hello, everybody. Hello, Guilford County. How you doing? I'm running on fairness, efficiency, and accountability. What does that mean, right? Fairness, of course, I want to treat every case on a case-by-case basis. I want you to come to court and not feel like your time has been wasted or no one cares about what you have to say, and that's whether you are a defendant or whether you're a victim. Efficiency, and I've spoken about it before. I want to make us move a little smoother, right? And then accountability. And now accountability is a couple things, right? You have law enforcement accountability, right? As the prosecutor, I would sit in a place where I could hold law enforcement accountable for their actions, just like they're regular people, right? Now, I respect law enforcement, but I believe that it's unfair to good law enforcement officers if we don't hold the bad ones accountable. It creates almost an unsafe environment for them, and they can't be trusted because they're all put in one pot, right? So there's law enforcement accountability, and then there's self-accountability as the person that sits in the prosecutor's seat. And I would be accountable by being present, working with stakeholders in the community. I've been walking around this campus and I see all the stuff going on. This is like a community changing place, right? If a prosecutor comes here and speaks to the youth and says, hey, the crime has to stop, and I'm the prosecutor, right? If you're present and you're visible and the people of Guilford County know who the district attorney is, that in and of itself could be a deterrent, right? It could show the youth that, wow, we don't have to be scared straight or taken to the jailhouse to be scared. We can see success, right? We can see that a brother who relates to us is in this office and is coming down to where we are. I don't want to say down to make it seem bad, but coming to where we are and speaking directly to us, right? Putting boots on the ground. I promise you I won't be out there in this suit. We talked about suits these days. Sometimes I want to put on a hoodie and put on some jeans and some tennis shoes and come out to the community, but that's how I want to be accountable, right? I was at a forum the other night and the lady asked a question. I said, well, I want to be out there where if you want to chew me out, you don't have to leave an email. You're going to see me walking around somewhere, see me in your community. So if you have a gripe or have a problem, you see me directly and just come to me directly. You don't have to go through a secretary. If I'm out and about, you can just say, hey, I didn't like this, right? And tell me why and go ahead and chew me out. And I'm ready to take it because it is a hard position. So,
well, you've heard it for yourself. Brenton Boyce is poised to advocate for the people and to dwell amidst the people. And I want to encourage you to remember these very important truths that he shared with you today as you go to the polls. Early voting will begin April 18th and will go, April 28th and will go on through May 14th. And election day, of course, is May 17th. And I want you to remember my good friend, Brenton Boyce, when you go to the polls. Brent, thank you so
Bishop.
much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And we're looking for great things in the future.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I believe I'm not just saying stuff. I believe I'm looking for my answer to come. I'm looking for my help to come. I'm looking for my redemption draws nigh.
Hello again and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us today. Brenton Boyce was an incredible guest, and I'm excited for the next person that I have the privilege of introducing to you. She is a hometown favorite. She's a dear friend, and she has legacy in so many different facets. It just seems like it's natural that she would be a person running in office. I'm talking about none other than Lisa Johnson Tompkins. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I am so grateful to have you. And, it's probably comfortable for me to just presume that everybody knows you, but tell us a little bit about Lisa in her formative years, and I know you're the incumbent, but I think it's important that people still get to hear from you.
Sure. And you're right, a lot of people that actually know me think, oh, everybody knows you, but you know, I run countywide, so there are a number of people who might know me in Greensboro, but they don't know me in High Point and Jamestown.
Right.
So I'm glad to have this opportunity to introduce myself to those people. So again, my name is Lisa Johnson Tompkins, and I am a native of Guilford County, Greensboro. I attended high school in Greensboro at James Benson Dudley High School.
The Dudley.
Absolutely. The best school in the city.
Of course.
I played volleyball at Dudley, and then I attended North Carolina A&T State University, where I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in public relations. And I also was a volleyball player at A&T.
Absolutely.
So that was a wonderful experience. I took some time off. I got married, had a child, and then in between that time, I went to cosmetology school.
No, I didn't realize that.
I did. I did hair for Leon's for a while, and then I was in a small salon before I decided to go to law school.
Okay.
And I went to law school in 2000, and while I was in law school traveling from Greensboro to Durham, my husband and I became pregnant with our second child together. And so I had my son in my second year of law school.
Wow.
I took 2 weeks off, and then I went back at it, and I finished in 2003. And so I have been in the judicial system for over 25 years. I started as a paralegal with my father. He was an attorney. And then I went to law school, and I was in private practice at a firm called Hunter Higgins, Miles Edelman Benjamin, practicing just about every area that you can think of: bankruptcy, estate litigation, civil litigation, criminal law, and juvenile. And so I was practicing in that, but I really had a passion for service. I've been married for 25 years. And my husband and I have 3 children. We have 2 children together, and then I have a bonus child, 3 boys, young men. But I left private practice because I really did have a passion for public service, and I left over $30,000 on the table and became an assistant district attorney. And in 2014, I decided that I saw and worked with the clerks in the clerk's office.
Yes.
I saw that there needed to be improvements. And so I ran, and the first time I ran, I won. And so that's just kind of, you know, my story and how I became clerk of Superior Court in Guilford County.
Clearly, you're a multitasker.
I am a multitasker.
You can't be a mom of young boys and 2 weeks after giving birth?
2 weeks after my best friend at the time, Veronica Edmonston, we were in school together. She brought me my books to my maternity room, and then she said, I'll pick you up and take you to school. And she took me to school for about 2 to 3 weeks because I had had surgery, but I knew that it was important for me to finish. And so I did that, and I came home every day, cooked dinner, washed clothes, put them in the bed, and then I went to studying.
So not only are you a multitasker, you're industrious, you're driven, you are a person of mission, purpose, and passion. And I think that for any public office, that, you know, it jives well with serving our community. But a lot of people may not be familiar as they are with other seats of government and public service, as with the clerk of court. So what, if you could describe for us what the clerk of court does and why it's a political position?
Okay, so let me take the last part first.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
And then I will get into what the clerk of court does.
Okay.
Our North Carolina Constitution mandates that there be a clerk in every county.
Yes.
And so it mandates that for the clerk, it mandates that for the sheriff, and it mandates that for the district attorney's office.
Okay.
So Now, the district attorney's office is not in every county, but they are comprised in some areas of multiple counties. But there's a sheriff in every county. So they are constitutional positions. So there are 3 constitutional positions that are on the ballot this time, and that's the clerk, the sheriff, and the district attorney. And so because of that, it is a political position. But the clerk of court, a lot of people get it confused with the Register of Deeds, who handles death records and birth records and land records.
Right.
And in most states, that might be true of the clerk. But in North Carolina, the clerk has a number of different duties. The first thing is that we're record keepers.
Okay.
And so everything that is filed in the courthouse, we are responsible for maintaining those files, the accuracy of those files, and the data entry. Also, the person who puts the clerk in the courtroom to take down what happens. Not the stenographer, that types things word for word, but the main things that happen, like the judgments, continuances, what happens in court on that day with that particular file.
Got it.
So we keep those records.
Got it.
So that's one thing that the clerk does.
Yes.
The other thing is I'm the comptroller. So there are between $8 to $13 million that comes into the courthouse in Guilford County every year, and I'm responsible for accounting for those monies, dispersing those monies, and in some instances, I may have to invest monies for like minor settlements. So if a child, maybe their parent dies and they have insurance money that comes in, an estate has to be open, and we invest those monies until they turn 18, and then they can retrieve those monies. So, record keeper, comptroller, I'm an administrator. In Guilford County, we're very unique because we're the only county in all 100 counties that has 2 fully functioning courthouses. So that means that I have an office in High Point and an office in Greensboro. We have 2 courthouses, and so I have about 30 people assigned to High Point and about 120 people assigned to Greensboro. So I am the leader or administrator of 150 people.
Wow.
In 2 locations.
Wow.
But I only get 1 check. And then I feel like I should get 2 though.
We need to add something to the ballot.
And then I am the judge of probate. And so a lot of people don't realize that in North Carolina, the elected clerk is the judge of probate. So the judge of probate makes decisions on whether adoption should be granted, whether name changes should be granted, whether someone should be found to be incompetent and not be able to handle their own affairs and may need a guardian to handle their money or their day-to-day lives. If you think about like Britney Spears
Yes.
or Amanda Bryan, who in California they call it conservatorships.
Right.
We call it guardianships in Guilford County. So I make the decision whether they should get the guardian and whether their rights should be restored. So that is something that I think most people really don't understand about the clerk's office. And that's a really important role. And we oversee the jury.
Yes.
I nominate magistrates. And I've formed the jury commission that oversees whether there are any discrepancies within the jury role.
So, you know, I must admit, when I said that you are a multitasker, I did not realize how many different appendages you actually were utilizing in order to meet the demand of your position.
It's a lot.
You are certainly educating me, and I'm sure our listeners today. Thank you for that very detailed and in-depth exposure. I just did not know that you were the judge of probate.
Right. I don't hold myself out to be a judge, but I am a judge. So when I'm in that courtroom or a hearing room, we have to follow the rules of civil procedure, the rules of evidence, and we have to understand what the law is and apply the facts to the law.
Yes.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So let's answer this next one. Why then are you seeking re-election of the clerk of court, of Superior Court, knowing how hard it
You know, somebody else asked me that. They said, you do all of that
for one check?
for one check. Why? And, you know, at the core of it, I really believe in service. I'm passionate about people. I'm passionate about service. I love problem solving. I love listening to people and hearing them out. And I think that is what people who come into the court system really need, especially in our estates division.
Right.
So you may have somebody who comes in, and I think about some of the, I don't want to say like the little old ladies, because not all of them are little, but they may have lost their spouses.
Sure.
And they come in and they're distraught and they don't know what to do. And while we can't give them legal advice, we can certainly listen to them and empathize with them, and then try to give them enough information so that they can get on the right path to either opening up an estate or not, because it's not always necessary when someone passes away.
Right.
So for me, at the core of it, it's really about people. One of the things I will tell you that I've done since becoming clerk in 2014, I have encouraged my staff to become involved in the community. So some of the things that we have participated in, we adopted Mary's House 2 Christmases in a row. We bought gifts for not only the mothers, but the children. We have donated to the food pantries in both High Point and Greensboro. We donate to the Salvation Army, the Family Justice Center, the Cancer Center. We have a lot of different community engagements. We did school supply drives for both High Point Elementary School and a Greensboro Elementary School, and the food bank for the Guilford County schools. And so I just believe in service.
What does that translate to
What you mean?
for having that kind of community engagement for your staff and yourself?
I think it just shows us that, you know, even though we're public servants in the courthouse, we need to be public servants outside of the courthouse. And I think that you can start to engage people at a different level.
Right.
And show them that you do care about them as the whole person.
Yeah, I think that's very positive and powerful, because a lot of people, their blood pressures rise, their anxieties manifest when they have to go to court oftentimes.
Yeah.
Whether they are innocent or whether they are the defendant.
Correct. And when I ran in 2014, I ran on 3 things: efficiency, consistency, and the ultimate in customer service. My belief is no matter who comes in that door, whether they have committed the worst crime or they're just there for jury service or a traffic ticket, or an attorney, we need to treat them the same way, with the same customer service, greeting them in a organized fashion, and making sure that they feel welcome. I mean, no one wants to come into the courthouse for any reason.
Yeah.
And then to come in and then be greeted with something less than the ultimate in customer service, I felt like that needed to be improved, and I will tell you that that has improved. And so I've kept every promise that I made in 2014.
That's great. Everyone can provide customer service, but do you think that a person serving in this role needs more than just the desire for customer service? Do you think they should be required to have a law degree?
Absolutely. Now, in North Carolina, the clerk of court does not have to have a law degree to run for the office. However, in doing my job, I recognize that it would be very difficult for me to understand some of the objections that attorneys make in court, to be able to apply the rules of evidence to those objections or to information coming in and out. In addition, you have to be able to interpret laws and know how to go find different laws if you're unsure.
Okay.
And as the judge of probate, you know, you don't want somebody ruling on a case as important as your rights to be able to handle your own money and your own affairs to be stripped because somebody says, you know, you look like you might be incompetent. Also, I forgot to mention, the clerk can rule and sign on absolute divorces. So if it's uncontested, we can sign those. So we do have a judicial role, and so you kind of want to know what the rules are before you sign a document or an order. So absolutely, I think it's very important, especially in larger counties when you have the volume that we have.
Mm-hmm. So what are the issues that you feel are most important to our court systems? Because our previous guest was talking about court system inefficiencies.
So access to justice, I think, is pretty huge. I think what the pandemic showed us or exposed, especially in North Carolina, is that we need to do a better job about allowing access to justice on all levels. So when we shut down because people couldn't come in person, we had to think about different ways to allow them to be able to have their day in court. Mm-hmm. So we utilized WebEx and Zoom, like a lot of places, but we didn't have those things in place. And I think that we should have. Our technology in North Carolina is pretty lacking. Mm-hmm. The clerk's office and the judicial system doesn't have a budget. So, yeah, so people look at me just like you looked at me. So we depend on the administrative office of the courts to provide us our technology and our supplies. And so when I tell people I would love to expand the technology because we're still using a DOS-based system to keep our records. And they're working towards eCourt, but the rollout hasn't started yet. It was supposed to start last summer, but because we have different systems that were created by different entities, they're having a hard time integrating them into one. So the rollout hasn't started yet. Guilford County was supposed to be this summer, but we're bumped to 2023. So the total rollout for the state, we're looking at either 2024 or 2025. And that's a long time to still continue on a DOS-based system. But as clerk, I don't get to say, you know, I want to order this software system, because I don't have a budget.
Wow. So when needs arise, you have to submit a requisition just as another department might? So
if you're talking about supplies, we can go and say, these are the things we need. We put it in the computer, and then the warehouse ships it to us. And, you know, just last week, we ran out of paper. So we had to call them, and we were like, we're out of paper. And they're like, okay, we'll rush you a couple of cases. So, I know it's unbelievable, but so North Carolina's a unified court system, so all 100 counties are under the same system. Okay. And so we're kind of at the beck and call of the administrative office of the courts.
Out of Raleigh?
Out of Raleigh.
Okay. All right, so this is a great segue into our next question. What's your vision for a place that is so important but is still dealing with constraints? What's your vision?
So my vision is I want to improve upon communication. Okay. And my vision for doing that is I'm working with Guilford County. So I kind of need to start back by saying the county of Guilford provides us a space, like we're like renters. So the courthouse is the county's. Yes. We're state employees. We rent the space from the county. They have to provide us with the furniture and the space, adequate space. And then the state provides us with the technology and the funds to pay salaries and things of that nature. Okay. So, but I'm working with the county to develop a website, and we're really close. Okay. Because I think it's important that we improve our communication, not only with those within the courthouse, but outside the courthouse. Yes. So I want to improve on communication. And I want to improve on training. we do have high turnover in the courthouse or in the clerk's office, but that's not unique to Guilford County. There's high turnover in the mid-size and large-size counties because there's just more opportunities. In the rural counties, you're talking about a staff of about 5, including the elected clerk. And one of those clerks wrote that he had 1 out on vacation, 2 out on COVID, and then 1 just got sick. And so he was the only one who was left in the office to do everything. You're right. And so one of the things that we were talking about is in smaller counties, they stay for long periods of time. But when you have your Walmarts and your Targets hiring at $15 and $20, and we start at $15, people are like, I might go to Walmart, or they're retiring. COVID, we took a hit. It was a lot. At the height of it, one of my employees passed away in front of me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so it was a difficult time, but I believe that we just have to push through. And so I want to do more cross training so that when we do lose people, we have somebody who can kind of step in until we can get people trained. So communication and cross training.
So that's your vision.
That's my vision.
Tell me what would be your top 2 priorities if you are fortunate to obtain re-election to this seat.
So in addition to continuing with the efficiencies and the consistencies that I have developed between Greensboro and High Point, because that wasn't always a thing, and my grandfather used to say the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. So I still want to improve upon that customer service because I think that's important for people to trust the process. I really want to get the word out about what the clerk's office does and what services we have.
Yes.
Because I think informing the public of what we do is so important.
Yes.
And then I want to do I want to work with the bar to see if we could do some type of clinic to help people with filling out forms. I can't tell you how many people come into the clerk's office and they just don't know what to do. And I hate to say, I'm sorry, I can't give you legal advice. And really the response I get is, I'm not asking you to tell me what to do. I just need you to tell me what to do. I'm not asking for legal advice, just tell me what to do. And of course that's legal advice, but if we could partner with the High Point Bar and the Greensboro Bar to see if we could get some help with that, because everybody can't afford an attorney.
Right, right. I want you to look in that camera
Okay.
and ask for the vote.
All right. Good evening. My name is Lisa Johnson Tompkins, and I am running for re-election to the office of Clerk of Superior Court. And I'm asking that you vote for me because I am the only candidate who has real experience. I'm the only candidate that has a law degree, and I'm the only candidate that has a proven record of providing the ultimate in customer services for all citizens of Guilford County, regardless of who you are and where you come from. And if you have any questions, please visit my website at lisajt4clerk.com, and I will gladly answer your questions. But again, I am asking for your vote and I'm asking for your support, and I appreciate your time in listening to me. Thank you.
One of the things that I believe is true for everyone is that everyone wants to know that someone that they have to deal with cares. And I believe that's what you shared tonight, that you've shown individuals that if they will give you the opportunity, you will not just continue to care, but care at an even greater level. Thank you so much for your time. This was an absolute joy. And I want to say to all of you, thank you for your time. I hope that this has been informative, that it has been something that has given you the edge in that also challenging process of casting your vote. I encourage you, do not be a complainer who does not engage. Don't be someone who's satisfied just sitting on the sideline. Too many people have fought, bled, and died for this democracy and the benefits thereof. And I charge you on April 28th, if possible, get out and vote early if you have a challenging schedule. You will be able to do so through May 14th. But then on the 17th of May, the election, the general election will commence. Please let no excuse be sufficient to keep you from letting your voice be heard by the vote. Until next time, again, this is Adrian Starks, and you've been listening to The Voice of Victory. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.